I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second. Moving second, all in favor? Aye.
We have the bills if you're ready to do them too.
Claims in the amount of $311,242.25.
I'll make a motion, we pay those bills in that amount.
Second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's all I have for now. I've got some budgets for you later, but I've got them on the agenda.
Gary, you got anything right off the bat?
Nothing that needs to be addressed immediately.
All right, AMR, you guys want to come up and visit?
Good morning. Louis Alloy for you, Danny.
Do what?
Louis Alloy with AMR.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Back to the numbers we always do. We've run 16 for this week, 40 for June. What those numbers mean is we're right back up to pre-COVID-19 numbers, if not a tad bit busier. So we're a little bit busy. Only the other thing we have right now is this Thursday at 1 p.m. at the Pleasanton Clinic, we're going to do additional helicopter training. We want to open that up to all first responders in the county who are interested. We'll have our bird in from Chanute, and we just kind of make sure our timelines are good, everything, they know what they expect from us, what we expect from them. So the fire department, the police department, welcome to attend. I'll talk to them individually, but just want to get that out there. And other than that, yeah. Pretty sad call over the weekend. If anyone needs any counseling or anything like that, I was telling the police chief that we have 4 or 5 employees that have been doing this over 25 years. Happy to talk to anyone. Our stations are always open. Also for our law enforcement officers, if, you know, with the heat and stuff like that, they want to come in, have some coffee, use our restroom. We want this interaction with, you know, with all of our first responders. So just making sure they know open doors, and if they want to talk about something, maybe not with someone, they could talk to any one of us.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Kevin?
Morning, Commission. Kevin Friend, Linn County Sheriff. As far as our numbers go, this morning we have 17 prisoners. Total, 14 of those are in-house, 3 are farmed out. This past week we had 129 911 calls and 364 calls for service. We had a couple of cases to note this past week. The first one was on Thursday, June 18th. The Detectives Bureau has been tracking one of our local narcotic distributors in the county, and they made an arrest of that subject here in Mound City on Thursday, and charges are pending in that case. The subject was procuring large amounts of prescription drugs and reselling those in the community. And the second case was on June the 20th, which was Saturday. And we've prepared a release on that. I've provided it to the Linn County News, and that is that on June 20th, 2020, a suspicious death occurred in Mound City, Kansas. The assisting agencies, of course, were Linn County Sheriff's Department, Mound City Police Department, the Pleasanton Police Department, and the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. Suspect has been taken into custody regarding the suspicious death, and there are no other suspects at this time. The Linn County Sheriff's Department will be the primary investigating agency. Mound City Police and the Kansas Bureau of Investigation are also assisting in the investigation. And we have no further comments in regard to that situation at this time. So, anything for me this morning?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Is Jackie around, or is he ready? I guess we could wait on him and go ahead and do
Go
district
ahead
court.
and get the judges,
Let's do that. We'll wait on Jackie and go ahead and talk to district court.
good morning.
Lori Simmons, the district court clerk. It's our proposed budget for next year. There weren't any changes.
No changes, huh?
You guys any questions?
None?
None?
I don't think I have any questions for you. How's your guys' office over there since the flood damage?
It's okay. There's still a few things missing, but it's just around the baseboards and some outlet covers.
Everything else going all right?
It's in good shape for the shape it was in.
I'll make a motion that we tentatively approve the district court budget amount of $200,300.
Second?
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Jackie, I think we're ready. I think we're ready for you now.
Jackie Messer, Public Works Administrator. Been working on several different things. The crack sealing's done, so probably the week after the 4th of July, was about the 5th, we're gonna start crack sealing, or no, I'm sorry, chip sealing over top of all this. We're still working on inventory, still getting barcodes. We pretty much reconciled what was on there. We're going after the stuff that over the years didn't get put on there and that needs to be added, so we're working on those. I've said this before, and I guess I'll say it one more time. Hecky is complete. There was $900 left on the money that we had committed to help them on the electrical, and we're gonna use it for the survey, so that 10,000 is gone.
Is there anything we need to do? Have him sign anything, or Gary? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I was,
On Dan Hecky, do we need? We're done with him. Is
we're
there?
done. I mean, if you want, did you notify him that that was our position, or?
I talked to him, yeah, he called and said, hey, there's money left. I said, not enough for anything. We're gonna use it for the survey.
Survey, yeah.
And we're gonna, so, because Effigy wants an easement in the right-of-way for future. So we're gonna have that surveyed, so it's gonna cost us a little bit of money. But we're pretty much done. Atmos is done. The water department's done. He questioned it's only a flush hydrant, and I said, look, talk to Doug Bartlett, get an explanation from him, but we've said over and over again, no matter where we are in that area, the ISO rating will not change. You can put 5 hydrants all around the building, the ISO rating is not gonna change. Because he was saying his insurance was being affected, and I said, no, talk to Doug. It's not being affected in any way.
If you want a letter going out, summarize that we can, I don't, it's not necessary, it's just up to you.
Yeah,
I think-
I defer that to,
You guys want a letter?
I can't think that would hurt anything, just
All right.
given the situation that we've
We'll
been
do it.
dealing with. That survey with Evergy is that something Smith's gonna do, or?
yes.
Okay, and that's something they're
they've required on anything high voltage for the last couple of years. They want that survey as built and put in, and of course, used to, they provide you with an easement. Now we have to have an easement written from that survey. Anyway, all right, the water, where they're in much better shape being on rural water too than they would have the city
Yes.
of Pleasanton, just because of the volume that's available to them. But when you start talking fire protection and
Now, I don't know where they are on his side of the equation. I don't know. I know we've terminated our obligation, and I don't know if he's talked to who he's having. I know he's not having Atmos contractor take it to the building. I don't know about rural water, so I don't know about that part, but I know our part's complete. I do need approval of a budget. This is for the Lake Region Solid Waste Authority. They're proposing to keep the budget the same as last year, which is $27,600. Our portion is $4,600. And I just need approval of signing this and send it back to them.
Lake Region,
Lake Region Solid Waste Authority, that's our,
right?
yeah, so $4,600.
What is that?
Not increase it.
I sit on the Lake Region RC&D, preparing for us, feeding the hungry, adopt a bike program.
Oh.
They split these programs up a few years ago. They had a director, and funding changed, and so they've got them split up. But this is, Jack sits on that board with
Al.
Al Stone, and it's a solid waste. Just, do you have a director right now?
Yes, there's a new director, and I can't remember her name. I haven't met her yet.
Not Charlene, then?
No, Charlene moved on. Well, she had health issues, was part of it. The other part, she went to the state on an advisory board for recycling.
Charlene Wise,
Yeah, so she's moving on.
who's sanitarian in Minot County for years. But anyway, they usually have a director that kind of keeps that corral for them.
Where do they go? Or, I mean, where do they?
Okay, the Lake Region is just, it's a group of 6 counties, Franklin County, not Bourbon surprisingly, but all the counties north, that we work with on recycling. For example, the tire machine down there that we chop tires up, that's not ours. Was purchased by the Lake Region and it's supposed to bounce around. They help with grants, they help with expertise when we need it. J.R. McMahon is the chairman right now for the this year, and they just survive. It's just the big thing they do is all these state required plans, they write. Instead of us having to have an individual plan, it's a joint plan. So it's a pretty good deal for us to be part of that. And we've done it every year. We'll get reports from it.
Yeah, it's the same group. It's Miami, Franklin, Osage, Coffee, Anderson, Linn, and it's amazing. Not possible. I guess COVID probably having that in there.
So I guess all I'm looking for is approval of the 4,600 and permission to sign it, I guess, or authorization to sign it.
And this is, it goes into our solid waste budget, it's not a separate budget on its own.
And it's no more than it's ever been.
No, the same as
So
last
I'll
year.
make a motion that we approve that document.
I'll second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're still working on the safety workshop. It's going to be with some
Here, that's sign it.
local entities, but mainly it's just a work group talking about safety plans through a contractor with the state. So we're working on that. The big one, or the question that keeps coming up is senior centers. Part of the problem with the senior centers is we rent the senior centers out, and there are different groups that will pay a fee, for example, for what we've been doing the rate that's current for Mound City, the Bunker Hill is $35 for the entire building, $15 for kitchen only, $65 cleaning deposit, and if they make any attempt at all to clean it, we give that money back. The other ones, Blue Mound, Parker, Pleasanton, and Centerville's $25 rental with the same deposit. The problem we have, and I keep getting requests to start renting it out again, but with COVID-19, I don't think we can just, Parker's a good example. We don't know when it's rented, we don't know who it's rented to, they do that, the city does it. So I have no way of knowing when we have to go there and clean it and use that atomizer or whatever after a group has had it before the seniors come in the next day. So we're gonna have to tighten this up considerably so that we know, and we're probably gonna have to hire somebody to do the cleaning instead of just relying on someone. I mean, because I don't know if they cleaned it, I don't know if they disinfected it, I don't know if it's ready for the next group. And I personally think the only way to ensure that is that we hire somebody to do it. Now, some of the senior centers for years here, we've paid $20, $30 for an individual to go in and clean it. They've quit and moved on, so we're at a crossroads where we need to figure out how to make these centers safe in between these. I mean, I don't want somebody with COVID doing an exercise class on a Monday night and then next day the seniors come in there to do their congregate meals, and that's what the purpose was for the seniors. So several options. I would say we need to make the cleaning deposit non-refundable, and that's going to jack up the rental rate. The rental rates are pretty cheap anyway, but if we make it non-refundable, I can take that money to clean with. And we'll also have to develop, which we can do quite easily, a reservation system that we are on board with instead of just letting Parker or Centerville or Pleasanton handle it themselves. We get in the middle of it, because otherwise I'm not going to know when we need to clean it.
So are you proposing you do this on a permanent basis or temporary or what?
I would say it would have to be a permanent basis because we have no idea when COVID's going to change. And the best estimates I've ever heard was after a vaccine's developed, maybe a year or 2 years from now. So I would say for now we would have to do it permanently so we can get ahead of it so we don't allow contamination. I've tried to get guidance on it, and the best I can get is, well, we only have recommendations for you. You have to make the decision.
Sure.
So,
But you just said there was a $65 deposit.
there's a 65.
You're not proposing that you keep that non-refundable a $65 deposit?
I was going to drop it to 50 because I figure it's going to cost 20 to 40 to pay somebody to do it. I don't know what the contract costs are going to be.
Sure.
So I thought that we could do that because I've got several names. We put out feelers that we don't want to hire an employee just to do this. Right now we got Danny Nation trying to do it. We do have a piece of equipment now that we disinfect rooms with. So I think we need to make it whatever the amount is, 35, 25, whatever the rental fee is, and then a non-refundable deposit, which we will use to clean it ourselves.
And so you haven't rented it out yet, right?
No,
So with the cases going up and all over the place, and I think we're fortunate so far,
right.
what if we just wait on this?
Okay, that would be fine, but I've got people backed up waiting for an answer. One of the main groups that has repeatedly questioned is Blue Mountain Car Show. There's no place for public restrooms, so they take that over and rent it for the weekend.
Just
There's
one
an
show?
extra, pardon?
Just the one time?
Yeah, 27th of this month is what they've tentatively scheduled it. We made them push it back, I don't know how many times, because we don't have answers because of COVID. This is an attempt to get answers.
And there'll be people coming in. My recommendation is you not rent the facilities until we're out of the phase stuff that we're doing. That's just my recommendation. You take that as you want.
That also would give me time to interview candidates who want to start cleaning these, because we're using Linn County staff, and
So what was Blue Mountain gonna do, on the 27th, which is coming up?
They could surely rent porta potties for the same price as you're talking about on this.
they do what now?
They could rent porta potties for the same price.
That would be the object, unless they use it for something else that I don't know of. Maybe the judges sit in there or something like that. I don't know. I've not.
Mike, do you know anything about it?
Yeah, you're not gonna get, just say you rent 4 porta-johns for the weekend, they mow in and out and clean and all that, they're probably gonna cost you
$400?
several $100. But, I mean, do we open the facilities? Do we open them to some? We open them to all? We don't open them at all? We don't open them for anybody? And I assume would be our normal position. But I gotta agree with Gary. I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, unless we just, I mean, we're getting ready to have a political forum in Bunker Hills, what I understand. Is that leased? Is it rented? Is it not?
We're doing it at the amphitheater outside.
She asked, and I put her on hold, said I had to get a direction from you guys before I could say yes or no
It's
to it.
our monthly meeting that we're planning on.
Right now, we're in phase 3. Phase 3 says no meetings of over 45 people unless you're able to social distance, which in those confined spaces, you couldn't have 45 people socially distanced. So I believe it behooves us as the landlords not to set up a situation where it's automatically going to violate the very rules that we're asking people to voluntarily follow. You follow me?
Right.
It's hard to argue with it. So,
There are other options, I think, we own the 4-H building, but we don't control what happens down there. So I don't know if they have the same rules or not, because we don't clean it. We do maintenance on it and salt. So
But we
there's
don't have
another-
seniors,
Pardon?
that's not where seniors gather, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's not, doesn't have the at-risk for seniors there.
Dean,
I think I'm with Gary on it, yeah.
so you got your answer?
Okay, so we will put it on hold indefinitely, and maybe we'll put it on a calendar to address it when the phases change. Okay?
has the Dean Kippinger been talking to you about this? They usually put on the car show.
She
No,
will
it's
now.
someone else. It's a woman. That doesn't sound like it.
I'll call her. She's actually reached out to me.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't mess up their question.
She called you
I
too?
just, since it's coming out of one of your budgets, when you decide on it before it comes to this week. I mean, it's already long now.
Okay, all right. All right, I didn't know. Okay. I think that's all. I do need 10 minutes.
Tell me about mowing. I was out driving around and it doesn't look good.
We've had record breakdowns. I know that just sounds like an excuse, but we got 2 tractors that are in shops elsewhere. We just got back a drive shaft for one. I don't know, trying to determine if it's training or what it is. It's not just one person. It's that Kubota is up in Lewisburg. It's under warranty.
All your New Hollands are down?
I think they're back running. I brought a drive shaft back. I think we have 3 or 4 tractors running
Okay.
out
Well,
of 6. It's been,
I didn't put a work request in, but I see the sign at Perry Road and 1850 East is down, and all through there, and all the way down around the game reserve, and And, all those places, all of our county roads are,
Yep. I asked him to start also hitting those blacktops again, because even though we went through most of them, you can't tell it. Snow Hill's pretty bad.
well, you got some bridges that are covered up too, some.
We're trying to spray those, because that way I'm not waiting on a tractor.
Right.
So I have 2 groups out spraying those bridges and guardrails, because I think that's pretty much a better technique. But they're road crew people spraying them, so we're trying to get that caught up. We are still trying to work Saturdays and Sundays, if I can find the people to work. Not very many people want to work weekends, but we've been out there because we have limited tractors and equipment running. Hopefully, we got more of them up this week. I think we're still waiting on parts for that LS. The drive shaft, we're still waiting on, or a PTO shaft, we're still waiting on it.
Okay.
So we have 3 tractors in shops, but we only have 3 that we can run right now. So we're not doing very well getting it all done. We're trying, but
And what did you do on your semi, dump beds?
postponed it another week, the belly dumps, because I found out that we were wanting to take it to test it, but it's got a bent rim. I guess it was, I don't know, they brought it in after somebody else used it and bent a rim and ruined the tire. So, we're waiting for them to change that tire out, but we're gonna try it out this week.
And then I heard, I talked to Jason probably last week. I ran into him at Kubota. He was picking up blades, and I was putting mine in for its maintenance, and
It's about that time that a Kubota died.
yeah, I was forgot what my train of thought was. Anyway, I'll talk to you about it after.
Okay.
How are the roads?
The roads, I think, are pretty solid. We're doing some,
Thanks for reminding me.
yeah.
Now I remember. The attachment that you put on the front of the grader, maintainer,
Yes.
that retrieves the rock and circulates
It
it
is,
back up.
it is done tremendous. I'd
That-
like
They're
to-
all bragging about it, so is there an opportunity to talk about getting another one?
We're
for-
waiting on a price.
Okay.
It's about 4,000 per unit.
But isn't there something else besides the 4,000? We have to have something to attach it to? No?
It slides right on the
Jason
unit
thought
we got.
okay.
Does it actually use the carriage for the plow, or does it?
Yes, yes. And then the problem is, we found them cheaper at John Deere, but they haven't got back to us with a price. But these things, you look at the pamphlet, you look at the information, if we get an ice storm, they can use it to score the roads with it. They were 8,000 at Cat, and
Yeah.
4,000 with John Deere. We're just waiting on a price, and I'm
Okay.
gonna push forward.
They
on
seem
that
to be
this week.
impressed with them. All right.
But I need to come back and get approval to buy them since 4,000. I'd like to get at least 6 or 8 of them out there, because they do knock those potholes out. I went out and watched it work after we had that one on demo. And yeah, it breaks the walls down of the pothole, pulls the gravel up, and he just goes over that area of potholes and back drags it, and it looks like we dumped a load of gravel.
So I
they're
kind of
still
interrupted
pretty
you because short-term memory loss, I guess, but Danny had asked you about roads, so.
Yeah, we're still doing a lot of ditching right now, but we're we're phasing into the asphalt, which there won't be a lot of dump trucks available. We're using 5 or 6 a day for asphalt, so we did have to backtrack and do more of the patch material, because we used a lot of it over in Centerville.
Okay.
The roads kind of got missed in rotation, and the roads had gotten pretty bad. So that's where we're working this week. Still patching. We're waiting for Kilo to come back and finish up that up at Lacine. They said they'd be back this week.
Are they doing Ullery Road as well? Or are they just doing
We're
Valley
gonna
Road
crack seal
North?
that one.
Huh?
Or chip seal that one.
Okay,
And then we're gonna do an overlay in front of that 2400 that comes up to you.
yeah, I got you.
that's where they ended up, they had to yank their crews.
Don't we do the road? Aren't we responsible for the road that goes over the power plant or the dam?
They're gonna do that.
We are, but there's a lot of times,
I think we're gonna do that one too, a portion of it. I'm trying to remember.
Go ahead.
there's often been some negotiation with the power plant.
They have helped with the cost of it.
That's actually a structure that they're
Right.
responsible for as part of their lake, as well as the dam or the actual, the gate, if you will. It's a bridge and they take care of that part.
So that they have some requirements as to how it's done, but at the same time, they often help with the cost of it.
And they, I noticed them up there spraying the other day. They did all the guardrail spraying. They did all that. And I was like, oh.
They mow all the way out to 2200.
I wasn't gonna tell them to stop. I said, spray some more, keep going.
How are the cabins out there at the lake? How far are we on those?
They're released.
We're up
Oh,
to,
yeah.
I think we have one left. We found some errors in the vent system, so we ended up having to pull out the shower to correct the vent. And cabin 7's the only one that's not ready to go. And it'll be ready to go in the next day or so. And we're renting pretty good. But we're getting close on the Wi-Fi. We got the conduit in. We just need to get the cable, sounds like Wi-Fi shouldn't need a cable, but we're running cable to the points up there to provide it. I think the
Is each
vanities in there look really nice. I think it's more of a family type cabin now, and the people that have been in there have been very positive about it because we've downsized, and plus we're saving a lot of money because we went in there and yanked all the hot water heaters out and we put in on-demand system, so we're not sitting there heating a tank of water when it's vacant. So I think we're going to see a improvement there. So, but we're getting pretty close on that. In fact, we've got them rented. So we're using that. I have one of those machines, and that's where we're using it up there on the cabin rentals in between each group.
So the boys out east of Centerville that's doing the feedlots, did they get a hold of you? They said we're dredging up a lot of ditch liner or something that we use to fill in some holes.
I didn't hear from them.
Used to
We did nail a fiber optics line down at Boycourt, but they were not very happy with us. But when you bury it 2 or 3 inches and we're trying to do ditch maintenance, we dredged up a nice piece of fiber for them. But we have that all over the county where we weren't as vigilant as we should have been in years past when it went in. And there's some places it's laying on the ground, and we need to get them, put it underground. So we have to hook it to, I mean, it's in our, we do what we can. The other question I sent to Gary, to you on that 1200, did you see that note?
Yeah, in fact, I had a copy of it here. I just can't remember what it said.
Basically, on 1200, we talked about last week. After we got done, 1200 Phillips. And after we got done, Andy brought up a valid point. He said, you're talking about, they have to bring it up to standard, but what if the road needs to be cleared for minimum maintenance? Do we let them do it or we do it? So what I was proposing, and I sent it to Gary to make sure I was on the right track, is going to take 2 days to clear that road and turn it into a minimum maintenance. And that's just clearing the trees and brush. We'll just say, where do you want it? But I would prefer to do that and escape the liability issues of letting somebody else work on our right of way. And then just say, because all we're obligated to do is make it minimum maintenance. And if I'm not mistaken, there are 2 pieces of property in there this week that are closing. So I wanted to be able to give them that commitment that we are going to do. We're not doing, turning it into a road like we said, but we will clean the brush out and the trees to make it a minimum maintenance. since it is a road. But, does that sound right?
I will need to visit with the commissioners in executive session and give them some legal advice about that.
Okay. All right.
What about Lowe's Bridge? Did you went out and take a look at that?
Yes, I looked at
Was I
that,
right on
and
that?
I guess, I had been told that bridge, you could see it from the highway. And I went out there, you can't see that from the highway, so that's the reason I thought it was further down. But when I went out there, it's before where he's got his cattle guards, so
Do we need to put any signs up on that?
I already.
Oh, you already got on
service
that?
request.
Good.
That we need to put delineators on there, because the public can get to it. And so, we've got a service request to get delineators on, well, I use my old term, the OEMs on it, to mark the ends of that.
So are they gonna come back and inspect it, or what? Or what? I
No,
mean,
they
what was-
inspected
Oh,
it.
they already did?
They inspected it and said, why are you doing it? Why don't you just retire this bridge? Why do you even have it? That's what made me,
Brought it
so
up.
when I started asking questions, they said, yeah, it's down about 60 in the highway, you can see it, but no, it's not. It's considerably closer to, it's on 400 at the tail end of 400. So it wasn't where I had been told it was. So,
That's all I got for you. You need 10 minutes, what?
personnel.
Thank you.
I need 20 minutes for legal. And I may, at some point in that legal, ask to bring Judge Hart into the legal session to assist us with our discussion.
Okay.
You wanna go ahead and get Doug and Tisha out of the way and then go into that? Tisha, you wanna come on up and visit?
Morning,
Morning.
Good morning.
Tisha with Tisha Coleman, Linn County Health Department. Just kind of give you an update on what's going on in our office. We have our immunization clinic scheduled tomorrow for the adolescents, 4 to 6. We are asking, it's a kind of a drive-up clinic, and then we're doing it again on June 29th. But we ask that people call because we're doing most of the screening over the phone, and then that way they're not in our office as long. COVID update related. Kansas Department of Health and Environment last week added Arkansas, Alabama, and Arizona to the travel quarantine list. So that would be a 14-day quarantine for people who've traveled to those states. Maryland is also on that list, but it's been there for a while. International travel has been on there for quite some time, and so has cruise ship travel. As far as testing in the county, we are at a total of 409 who have been tested, 55 in the last week, and 61 total community testing. Case update is 13 cases. 2 are currently active, 1 is hospitalized. We also are scheduling I'm working with Catholic Charities in regards to a food and necessity drive, recovery drive for COVID that we'll be hosting at the Linn County Fairgrounds that'll be open to anyone in the county to drive in, pick up their stuff, and go. So it's free for anybody in the county. And I'm working with volunteers on that. Then I'll be getting with David in regards to the CARE Act funding, the COVID relief fund, because there's some public health stuff that can be utilized from that money. So that's it.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Tisha. Doug?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Doug Bartlett, Fire Chief, Emergency Manager. I would like permission to spend $30,000 for the purchase of bunker gear, and I would like for approval to utilize $10,000 for our annual vehicle safety inspections and pump testing. Those 2 things are budgeted items. We turn them into you each year for budget. You approve that in the budget. At our fire board meeting Thursday evening of last week, the fire board, when they were preparing the budget submission for this year, expressed some concern because they are still getting complaints from the public when I come in here to ask you to spend money. The perception is that the public doesn't understand that we give you a budget, you approve that budget, but before we can spend in excess of currently $5,000, we have to come and get your approval, even though that's already in our budget earmarked for the purpose that we have described. I think it's thought or felt that when we come in and ask to spend money, we're asking you to spend or give us more money than what you've already approved. So I just wanted to make that clear. The bunker gear, we budget $30,000 annually. NFPA says that we should replace our bunker gear every 10 years. If we wait until each 10 years, we're going to have to come up with about $300,000 all in 1 year to replace the gear. So for the 10 or 12 years that I have been here, we have replaced about 1/10 of it annually so that we keep it cycled out every 10 years and we don't have to budget a significant amount of money to do that. The commission has approved that, and we've continued with that process during my tenure here. The vehicle safety inspections are a requirement of the state fire marshal. We're required annually to have a certified mechanic do an inspection of each and every fire apparatus that we have. We use an independent third party to come in and do that for us, so there's no question as to whether or not it was done or done appropriately. And then we also document all of the repairs that are made if anything is found with our vehicles, so that we can show, one, we had the inspection done, and two, those vehicles were taken care of.
Have we used the same person in the past?
Yes, we've been using the same person that does our maintenance on our fire trucks to come in and do that. So the other thing is the pump testing. The Insurance Services Office, or ISO, where we get our ISO rating of 5, requires that we do annual pump testing of our fire apparatus to make sure they're working properly. So that, again, goes in with part of the process of keeping that ISO rating of 5. And then we have to have our aerial ladder inspected annually as well.
What about your air tank, the trailer that you bought? That refills?
We have the system checked twice a year.
Okay.
They come, they pull an air sample out of it, make sure that the air that it's producing or manufacturing is of a quality that we can breathe without causing any issues to our
Any
fire
problems with
service.
that so far?
No, we've had no problems or issues with that piece of equipment. And again, it was obtained through grant,
Right.
95.5 grant funding source, so.
And this is all separate from the 10,000 for the vehicle inspection?
Well,
Ladder and stuff?
the $10,000 that we budget is for annual vehicle inspections and the pump testing
Okay.
and the aerial ladder.
Okay.
It's right around $10,000 to get all of that done. But we're wanting to start and initiate the process of getting the safety inspections done, getting the pump testing company down here to do pump testing. We're just wanting to get all that taken care of now. And then until August the 1st, I believe it is, or August the 8th, somewhere around there, last year when we bid our turnout gear, they had to honor that price for 12 months, and I think that price changes on August the 8th. That would be the end of our 12 months, so we're just trying to get it under the same bid price we did last year.
I'd make a motion that we approve 30,000 for the bunker gear and 10,000 for the vehicle safety inspection.
One second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we missed the severe weather yesterday. Unfortunately, we missed all the rain as well, but there is a chance of rain this afternoon and rain midweek, and then rain again Friday through Sunday. So they're not expecting severe weather at this point, but we will have several chances of rain. That's all I have for you, unless you have something for me this morning.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug. All right, I think we're ready for executive. We're going Jackie.
No, can we do Christie?
Oh, okay.
No. We see you so often.
Thank you.
Kind of wanted to thank Dave and Doug Bartlett and Linda Simons for their continuity plan for the county, because And I want to encourage all the other offices to get in on that. I had a continuity plan in place when this whole catastrophe hit, and I didn't have a whole lot of things to do, as far as trying to figure out what we needed and who's going to be working where. So it's an excellent plan. So that continuity plan needs to be in place for all the offices for the county. The payroll, contractual. Okay, on that last page, there's this fees collected in 2019. So I collected a total fees of $133,592. So we're still supporting our budget. However, it's way down from what we used to get when the mortgage registration fees were in place, but we're still staying under that.
So clarify, go over it again, because it's been a couple years. Since those fees changed, are we doing it by the page now?
Yes.
So how does title companies, they just have an estimated when they
Well, the title
file?
companies, they know, how many pages are in the deed, how many pages are in the
Okay.
mortgage, and so
So
forth.
that's how they know your billing? Is
Yes.
our billing thing statewide?
Yes, sir.
It's the same
Yes, sir.
fee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But in addition to the Register of Deeds Technology Fund, we're also collecting for the Heritage Trust Fund, which goes to the state for all the historical buildings. And then we're also collecting for the clerk and the treasurer. They get technology funds out of our fees. So that helps. It's a small help in upgrading our computers and equipment and so forth. So I went ahead and ran a 6-month, year-to-date on the fees that we've collected. It's a little page in there that has a $67,660. So we're on track. I figured that after they started charging by the page, that the banks and the mortgage companies would figure it out and start coming up with a one-page mortgage instead of the 14 or 16 pages that, that they like to.
I don't think they care.
So anyway, I had a little, the reason my contractual services, I've got $12,400 in there for that. About $6,000 of it is on my microfilm maintenance. The microfilm, deteriorates through the years, and we're required to have that on storage in somewhere, which I keep mine in the mines at.
Weren't you
Hutch.
converting that over from microfiche to
Yes,
whatever?
but we're still required to keep
What you
a
got?
backup of
Okay.
microfilm at the mines.
Right.
So that it can, because things change through the years, your programs are gonna change, so, I'm sure that the TIFF files and the JPEGs and so forth will always be readable by some program, but that microfilm will always be there.
Okay.
So it's something that
Such an
always.
old thing in it, microfilm.
Yeah, 100 years or so. But I don't know if you have any questions on my budget.
On your microfilm maintenance, do they actually go in and refurbish it, or just check it, or?
Yes, I did a spot check a few years ago, and I just randomly pulled certain rolls of film, and they inspect them for redox and vinegar syndrome and so forth. And I had those rolls that they pulled, there was like 3 of them that were in really bad shape, and they did a silver toning on them and put them in these little boxes with ribbons and into a security vault that they won't be pulled. So they do upgrade them, and I don't know how they treat them, but, they bring them up to, because the redox will eat the film.
I have one question on your part-time.
Yes, sir?
It's increased quite a bit. Do you have 2 people or 3 people doing it?
I have 2 people. There was a little misunderstanding between David and I when we had Katie. We were sharing her.
Right.
And then when he took her full-time, this was not last, or
He
I
left
don't
you the
remember how
bill?
much. Anyway, I had it worked out where I had extra person in there 5 days a week.
Okay,
But now I've got one day that I don't have a person. So.
okay.
And it's kind of nice. It's kind of, you take 2 part-time people and make a full-time person out of them, and you're not paying, benefits and such.
When you say your revenues we're bringing in are What were we doing, say, 4 or 5 years ago?
Oh, shoot. I didn't bring that with me, but,
I mean, just.
It went up $7,000 for what?
They reduced by half, or?
well, you stumped me. I didn't bring that with me, but,
I was just looking for thereabouts number, just
yeah.
cut it in half.
It seemed like that we had 200,000 or 300,000 a year, and now we're down to 133. I know Johnson County really suffers because they have a lot of mortgages.
How's this compared to your last year's budget?
It's an increase of $8,147.
So, the actual, 2020.
And I think part of that is due to the 27 pay days instead of 26.
I'll make a motion we tentatively approve the Register of Deeds budget.
I'll
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What's that? Oh,
Oh,
In the amount of $126,446.72.
Thank you for your time.
you'll have to watch the recording, we can't tell you now.
we can go to public comment. We can do public comment. We think alike. You see that? We're good for each other. All right, we're gonna open up for public comment. You guys have anything? You wanna step up and just state your name at the podium and?
Hi, my name is Chris Felix. My husband, John, took over Dave Cummings' trash route here in town. When he was dumping the trash last Friday down here at the trash dump, a county guy came in and told him that he no longer can dump the trash there, that he has to go to Prescott. Anybody know anything about that?
Oh, we'll have to talk to Jackie about it. Is it
He's a commercial operation.
he's a commercial operation? He gets paid?
Yeah, he gets
okay.
paid to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure that Jackie, you know about the commercial dumper that was dumping here? And somebody notified them that they need to go to Prescott? Because I know we don't allow, and if it has been in the past, not just Mound City, but all of them, all the commercial dumpers, trash people, have to go through Prescott. Isn't that what you got out of it?
It's a violation of our state KD-18 permit if we allow commercial operators to dump in it. It's for local household waste only.
So I'm not saying it didn't happen for a long time, but it shouldn't have happened at all.
Okay, so,
Is that what you got out of it, you guys? Mike?
I think so.
As far as dumping down here?
Yeah, was there an email went out, or? No. When you say I got out of it,
We had talked about it.
That's just the policy that, we have followed that policy because the state requires it.
Yeah.
it's part of our
It's in our
plan,
Right,
plan.
but.
that's what it meant.
okay.
Go ahead, you
All
got
right.
something? Go ahead.
I disagree.
What do you mean you disagree?
I'm sorry, my name's Phyllis Green. I've seen comments that we're overloading the trash down there. And my comment is, he's doing the elderly that can't take the time to take their trash down to the trash compactor. And he's picking them up and taking it for them. It's not like he's making a lot of money off of this. I, for one, am grateful, and my neighbors are grateful that we have somebody here in town that can pick our garbage up for us and take it to the compactor. They say they're overloading it, but if every one of us took our garbage down there, we're going to put the same amount of garbage in that he does when he picks it up for us.
Overloading is not the issue, I don't
No.
think. The issue is that if it's a paid hauler, then we can't allow to put the trash in the transfer site.
Yeah. All he has to do is take his truck and go to Prescott, weigh it, and then he'll pay probably $25 to have it done. But it also triggers extra loads that it's filling up the compactor a little bit quicker. But the main thing is it's a commercial operation, and if we allow it for one, there's others that would want to do it as well. And then DHE has said,
That's the issue. We've got some big
Yeah, regulation.
commercial haulers in the county who, if they all wanted to dump in one of these two, besides being outside of our policy, it would be just unmanageable. And if we can't, if we're gonna treat one a certain way, we gotta treat everybody the same way.
But if the commercial haulers that come here, they don't only just pick up from us, they pick up from other towns.
That's true.
So I
But
can see that.
we can't distinguish between, let's have a special rule for Mountain City. We can't do that. I mean, this is a county policy we're talking about. We have to treat all the cities the same.
I'm just thinking of the elderly.
Sure, I understand.
They pick up,
If he was doing it for free, that'd be different, quite frankly. But obviously, he can't do it for free. I'm not saying he should, but
then what little bit he gets paid, we're picking up twice a week. Every month, every week, twice a week. What he would make, he's gonna spend
it's a
by taking
conundrum.
it
I
to
know.
Prescott and paying them for our garbage.
Yeah, I mean,
Does that make sense?
no, yeah, I understand that, but it's a KDH rule that we don't do it, and and I understand that it's, some of the elderly can't get down there. That's why we offer it for free, the service to all throughout the county, if you want to bring it in. If you're unable, people hire commercial vendors to come by and pick it up. So I understand, I don't know how much he makes or what he makes, but that's,
Not that much.
yeah, that's the rule though, so.
Well, and let's define free, because it's a county-ran
It's tax.
tax
Yeah.
service, and we do it through the ad valorem tax system. $600,000, Jack, a year is what's budgeted to manage the landfill, and obviously those revenues that it receives are part of that, they come back to the county clerk, so it's partially self-funded, but not completely by any means. And, so that, we've evaluated this, I don't know, a dozen times, I know, since I've been here. Is there a easier way? Is there a more fair way? Because the people with property are actually the ones paying the entire tax obligation. For a lot of communities, I mean, some communities actually manage a trash pickup at the curb, but it is not your trash doesn't go away for free. There is an expense to the community as a whole. And we felt like this is as fair a way of doing it as we can for anyone. And there are multiple commercial haulers, but we've had people come in and say, well, that gentleman's gonna dump in there for free. I'm gonna bring my whole trash compactor. Well, they have the ability to fill up, they could stand there and fill up the whole dumpster. We could just, so we've had to make a policy that they haul it to the landfill. And there's nothing that I see that we could do to make it better or fairer here without, we've talked about collecting a fee per bag, what size of bag, I mean, trash barrels. It's, as Gary said, it's been a huge issue to manage this CD
Yeah.
landfill and monofilament fill and transfer station. We do not actually handle our municipal waste at Prescott. It gets transferred and is hauled to Arcadia.
I feel very lucky about what we do, because I know we pay taxes for it, like Mike said, a lot of people that rent don't, but they can still get to dump their trash. But living all over the United States, during my military career, everywhere I've been, you had to pay for it. And sometimes by the bag. And in San Diego, I know they tore the bags open to see if there was any recyclables in it, and they'd leave you a ticket if you did. So, so when I get here, I guess I'm a little like, I love it because I can just go dump my 2 or 3 bags a week out and be done with it. And I know it's unfortunate for elderly, but it's kind of the rule.
We apologize, it's inconvenient, we know. At the end of the day, it's a KDHE rule, it's a state rule, right? I mean, we would get in a lot of trouble if we allowed it to happen, so.
So what if we had trouble if I paid somebody to take my trash and take it down there, that would be illegal?
Do what?
Or
I had
if
somebody-
it's not a commercial hauler, that's what we're talking about.
So if you got somebody to do it for free for you, a neighbor or somebody,
If you got a neighbor who'll do it for free, and you give them a buck or 2 for doing it, that's none of our business.
Yeah.
We're talking-
Good luck on that.
We're talking about commercial haulers.
sir, you got anything? Did you have any comment you want to make?
You guys got anything else? We apologize. We're not trying to make everything difficult or be difficult for you. It's just how it has to go. So we're trying to get a handle on everything, trying to get everything to run smoothly. So sorry.
Jason, you got anything? Come on.
You ain't got no complaints?
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session for 20 minutes legal and 10 personnel, is that right?
Yeah.
Jack?
Second.
20 minutes.
Thank you guys for
Gary?
coming in.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Moving second, aye.
to you this year? Still haven't heard?
Oh, always afraid.
Danny, you want this?
What is it?
I don't know, it's your fault.
Whatever it is.
We don't need to do anything with that, right? Or do we?
That's for you.
For you,
Oh, it's for me?
you building a wind turbine?
Yep. Wind turbines.
That's not for you, that's Kevin's. Have you
You
guys
got
had,
the politically correct thing to say, doesn't he?
we waiting on Gary?
Yeah.
Have you guys had a chance to look over Kevin's budget?
Yep.
You have? You might be able to, get a little time, extra time there, we might be able to discuss it, if you guys want.
I think that you're probably needing to approve the recommendations made by the county health department to the courts for adoption as the county's plan for reopening the courts. Let me just explain a little bit about the situation, how it works. The Chief Justice has authorized the chief judge of each district to put together a plan in consultation with the county for reopening the courts in the counties. So Judge Harth came to us and said, we're ready to do a plan. What recommendations do you have? Our health department made a list of recommendations. They're acceptable to the judge. And so if you, as the Board of Health, would approve these recommendations as a basis for the judicial plan for reopening the courts, then with the understanding that if at any time Judge Harth has any changes or variations that she wants, you're open to discussing those. So,
That's my motion.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Does she need a copy? Do you need a copy of this? Oh, you got it? Is that all we had on that? All right, well then, looks like we're up to John. We ready for you? You want to state your name and all that at the podium? That'd be great.
Sure. Thank you. I'm John Platt. I'm the Executive Director of TRICO, and I'm here to present my budget request for the next fiscal year. And just to give you some demographic information, TRICO serves people with individual, intellectual, and developmental disabilities. We have a total of 137 people we serve in our 3-county region. That's Miami, Anderson, and Linn counties. And of the 137, 20 live here in Linn County. Right now, we have 113 staff. And of the 113, 23 live in Linn County. We've got a budget for full-time equivalent positions of just shy of 123, so we're looking for employees. So if you know of anybody that's looking for a job, please send them our direction. Our payroll, including benefits, was budgeted at $5,294,918. Okay. On the second page of my proposal, I've given you a list of what Linn County has contributed to TRICO over the past several years and what our overall budget has been for the agency. You can see in 2020 it did increase by just over $200,000. The reason for that increase is we got a KDOT grant for 3 new buses, and that was primarily the reason for the increase. And so we appreciate the county's support that they've given us over the years, and we would request a 3% increase for a total amount of county funding of $82,499.
And John, is it the only homes we have here in Linn County? Is that up at Lacine, or is there other locations?
That's the only group home we have.
Okay.
Here in Linn County, we have several that are living in their own homes or
Okay.
apartments. Yeah.
Is that something, when you say they're living in their own homes, your personnel go out, Trico goes out to see them? Is
Yes.
it counseling they do, or?
It's more like daily living skills. So
Okay.
if somebody needs to go to the store, somebody needs help cooking, somebody needs whatever.
And is does this relate to area on aging as well? Do you guys work hand in hand with elderly that?
Our clientele are all age ranges. So the AAAs handle folks that are not intellectually or developmentally disabled.
Right.
And that's our catchment.
Right. But have you ever worked with the area on agency to see if there was like some group?
From staffing perspective,
Well, from just financially or some type of services they could offer as well that would lessen your burden, or?
I would be open to any kind of partnership.
I think you should maybe consider that, because, they offer in-home cleaning and visitations, and they do a lot of great stuff, but a lot of times people just don't ask for it because they don't know.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you were out there and you saw something that maybe would benefit them,
Right.
Elizabeth Maxwell, I can send you her information. Maybe it would better serve the communities, especially the ones that are 60, I think, and over.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
With that, I'll make a motion that we tentatively accept the budget for the amount of $82,499.
I'll second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How many people do we usually, or is there usually in Linn County? Is 20 a high number?
That's about right.
It's about average. It goes up a few, down a few. It varies a little bit. I can tell you this. We've kind of closed for any new referrals coming in until we can get our staffing up to what we would like to see. So we could serve more people if we had more staff. So that's why we're always looking for, if you know of anybody looking for a job, please send them our way.
Is it the salary, the amount you pay them, the problem, or is it the intensive training and they just don't complete it, or what is it?
It's a variety of issues. I'd love to be able to pay them more. The rates are set by the state of Kansas,
Okay.
so we operate within the amount of money that we're given, so, yes.
Yeah.
Your total budget is how much?
The grand total budget is $6,721,000.
So obviously, if we have 3 counties that's funding that, we're probably looking at state of Kansas funding, it's close to $6 million of that. So that's where they regulate your salary.
Yes, through the Medicaid rates.
Did we vote already? I can't remember.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
I would like to give a shout out to your health department nurse. She's worked very closely with our RN, and I've heard nothing but great things. So you guys have wonderful health
We
department.
always hire good, John.
Good deal.
All right, well, thank you all.
Thank you. Pam, you got anything you want to share with us?
No, you're not on the budget, not on the agenda.
Yeah, you have to come back.
On David's agenda.
No. Thank you.
I already like it.
You don't get too many.
Pam Cannon, GIS Mapping Department.
Okay.
I have increased it the last 3 years to pay for that Esri software that we acquired, And so this year, my goal is to not increase it at all, so I have not
Awesome.
increased it. It's the exact same amount as
Kind
last
of
year.
hard to argue with. She could have cut it, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, always need to save for a rainy day, so if I have any left over, I put it in the special fund, but this year, I'm not looking to have any left over because my computer's been flashing the blue screen of death every once in a while, so.
Are you still, I know you was a president at one time and serving on for the state. Are you doing anything now actively?
I'm on a committee for the, keeping the maintenance points up for the designations.
Okay.
The state has 3 different designations. They have a KM Kansas mapper, a PKM Kansas professional mapper, and the Kansas GISD designation.
And then Carol has she done any courses or
She has the KM.
Okay.
Not many people take the PKM anymore because it's all manual. You have to draw out plats and everything to scale within a certain time period. So some people could pass the test if they had more time, but you're limited on how much time, and I think we currently have only 6 PKMs in the state of Kansas.
Hmm.
So,
And you're one of them?
yes.
I knew that. I just want to hear you brag.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Do you have any big plans in the next year or two? I mean, is there any new software you think you're gonna have to get or anything like that?
Not on software, but like I said, anytime I have the opportunity to put money back, I do, because I have a plotter scanner that's expensive to replace. I also have the laminate machine, and also for future imagery, we're contracted to fly again in 2 more years. We flew last year in 2 more years, so trying to put a little bit back. And then the cameras, they're reaching their end of life and becoming out of date. I think I have one that still works, and Doug Bartlett still has one that works in the county. But they have newer ones, but with the software that we purchased with Esri, they work really well with like iPads or cell phones or whatever. So I would look to get something, a device that works with the cell phone to make the GPS more accurate instead of buying another GPS camera. And there's a lot of apps that when you're out there in the field, it just automatically puts it on the map. Because right now, I go out with the camera, it collects the point, then I come back to the office and then I map it, and it would take a step or 2 out of that.
Do you ever
be able
use
to do it
like
from the
drones
field.
or anything?
I'm sorry?
When you do stuff like that, do you ever use like a drone with a camera on it or anything like that? No?
Nope.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we tentatively approve the proposed budget for mapping in the amount of $146,700, the same as last year.
Moving second, all in favor?
All right.
And I do have a gripe, a pet peeve that I've just come across. All of the maps we do are for taxing purposes, and we put on there, not intended for conveyance, nor is it a legal survey. And I've got a copy of the corner of a recent survey, and these highlighted areas says 25 foot right-of-way per Linn County Mapping Department and 30-foot right-of-way per Linn County Mapping Department. My pet peeve is it's their job to research and find out what it is. It's not to put it back on us and the liability on us. So that's a pet peeve, and I just want to bring it to your attention
Okay.
that they've done that, and I hope that they won't continue to do that.
Is that surveyors that's done that, or? Okay.
Yeah.
Do
And,
do you call them and remind them?
no.
Okay.
That's an opportunity for us, because in the past, if a survey comes in and it's different than what we have, that's a red flag for us to do more research on our end of it too, to make sure our stuff is accurate. So it's better to have more than one set of eyes instead of just taking one person's
Right. Yeah.
to go on that. And then Carol and I will both be gone on Wednesday to El Dorado for some training, opportunity for some inexpensive training. We'll have the office closed on that date. And then also I wanted to let you know that several years ago, we provided like a mini GIS for Parker and Lacine, and I think there was another town.
Rural Water District, maybe?
Well, I don't think it was them. Oh, it was Pleasanton. Those 3 entities had chosen to do that. And Parker is upgrading all their computers and everything, and so they want to update that as well. So, kind of get an idea from you guys what you think we should charge or whatever to get them back up to
I think
date
you
with
need
new
to,
imageries and
you
stuff.
need to tell us what you think's fair,
Okay.
what's right.
Well, we did the other
Have we charged them
three-
in the past? I guess I should ask that too.
Yeah, we charged for the initial, and we kind of based it by the size. Parker was the smallest, so I think we charged them $300 for their arc reader and all of the layers that were pertinent to them. And I think Pleasanton and Lacey were $500, so,
Oh, I shouldn't complain too much.
no, it's very reasonable, so.
Were we utilizing some intern or maybe a class that was playing with the GIS to go locate manholes and things like that? Some intern folks maybe, I don't remember.
Are you talking about Rural Water District?
Like Parker, I thought they were utilizing like some interns or maybe,
Yeah, Jim Schmitz went out with some of them, and they did, it was, 4-H used to have a geospatial program.
Right.
And we had some interns, and we did some job shadowing and stuff like that to kind of help them out. And anyway, that was one of their projects. They went out and got like their water meters and things like that. So.
Gotcha.
And then we're happy to update as far as like when the city changes their zoning and stuff like that, we update so that we have that as a backup for them, and then we can print out a newer map or whatever they need for that. And it's just good to work together on those things. And I believe that is all I have. If you don't have anything else for me.
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Andy, you got something you want to visit about?
Have agreements for grant of road easement for lot split purposes.
Are they all different?
There's 5 of them there.
Five, okay. 5 different ones?
5 different.
Yeah, that's what I thought. These are 5 different.
Yeah, you read some.
It's an additional 10 feet along Phillips Road and 15 feet along 1200 Lane, the same one we talked about last week.
Why is there a difference in the easement?
Pardon me?
Why is there a difference in the easement? One says 10-foot easement on this property, and this one says 35-foot easement.
The 10-foot is along an existing 50-foot.
Okay.
The other one is just describing the north side of the section. If you accept it, then they can get their property division finalized today, and they've been working on this for a while. But I'll need all 5 of them signed.
Do they all have different resolution numbers, or is that something you guys are you're dealing with, or?
Resolution, you just accept the right of way.
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the right-of-way on just all 5 different ones.
You reviewed that and you're okay with that?
I haven't specifically reviewed them. I'm familiar with the situation, and I have confidence that Andy has got the details, so.
And you recommended it, so.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let him review it and then sign it.
Lawyer. Yeah, he's looking for how much it's gonna cost.
You got something else, don't you, Jack?
All right, jump on up here and share.
$300. That was $300.
We've been talking about, again, that Pleasanton request from home school to help them clean that drain. And we asked them he just threw this together real quick, what they were proposing. It looks like the floodplain is changed as opposed to what it was. The new maps are showing a difference, and Andy worked with them, got a permit for that, so that's not an issue.
So what we have, Andy, in here, the flood mapping was redone, right? It was updated, and it's changed quite a bit, right?
Yeah, it's in the review process being changed, right?
And when will it anticipate to be done?
I'd say next year.
And that could be significant for for costs of people that maybe have property in flood zones now, right?
Yes, well, matter of fact, we're using the LiDAR imagery now, it's a lot more accurate. Where they used to use a topographical map, places they would miss the whole range.
Yeah.
Some people in special flood hazard areas, they're on top of a hill. Now, they're a lot more accurate.
David needs to,
Dave needs to stamp them or something.
On this agreement, would we need to have any language for stormwater runoff, because the county's not actually gonna be doing any of that type of work, or if there was anything in the, it's not in a floodplain now, or?
Oh, here?
No, at the Pleasanton School. I just don't want us to be getting caught by the Corps of Engineers or,
I mean, if you wanted to add a phrase that the county would simply be functioning as a subcontractor, so to speak, and that the school district would be responsible for compliance with all state and federal regulations.
I think they've already got a permit.
I discussed this with the Division of Water Resources, and they said as long as we weren't changing the banks, changing the elevation, just removing the trees, don't pile trees in the floodplain, and they're okay.
I'm more comfortable if somebody's addressed some of those issues that we've all been either there or around where, oh, wait a minute, there's a permit that didn't get pulled or a discussion that didn't take place, and
I've already issued the local permit.
is it for to the school district?
So it's clear, they're the permit holder and they're the company.
Okay, that makes me feel a little more comfortable. All right, with that, I'll make a motion that we enter this agreement with US 344.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't need to sign this, we don't need to sign this anywhere, do we? It's all you.
Oh, your fault now.
Does Mike need to sign those?
Yeah, Mike, we
So
sign it.
authorize Jack to sign that document, is that what we needed to do? All right, that was amended motion.
Is that all you had, Jackie?
I just need to catch Mike afterwards, pick your brain about, or I could talk about it.
Oh, we can do it afterwards. It
Yeah,
doesn't
there's,
involve everybody.
it's about 10, 15 years ago. I want to see if you can remember what was done.
10 or 15 minutes ago, you might have a chance.
All right, thank you.
Deb, are you ready to visit with us?
Morning, Dave.
Hello. Oh, you do? Yeah, you did. Yeah, look, I'm inspected by number 39. Yes. I can't wait.
Can't wait. I know you're excited.
I get, yeah.
Okay, so I put in extra into payroll to account for any cost of living raises, any overtime that might happen, and for another staff member, if that's possible. I've also increased the contractual amount because of the education that we're gonna need for people coming in
Okay.
to get trained.
This is for future people being
This is for
hired.
future people, yes. And other than that, I've left everything the same. I didn't know what you had in mind to pay an actual appraiser, so.
Oh, we're gonna give him like
I
200,000.
kinda, yeah, I figured a couple $100 ought to take care of it and you'd be done, so there you go. But I'm hoping for leftover from 2020 budget to put into that reappraisal account to pay for any flights for the mapping and a vehicle replacement if we need one. But
So can you go back to the payroll? You increased it. You're trying, the amount that you increased it by was with a,
with a full-time appraiser and another full-time employee and cost of living raises.
are we short of an employee right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Okay,
Actually, if you count the appraiser short too.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Are you looking
You
for,
want a copy?
are you looking for him? Are you gonna let the appraiser look for him, the other person? You say you're short of.
I'm a
person.
shorter field person.
Right, right. Have you applied or?
No, I haven't advertised.
Are you
I
going
haven't-
to?
If you want me to take care of that, I can. I didn't know whether you wanted the new person coming in to do that.
What's your suggestion? Anybody else?
I mean,
Well, I mean, what's our timeline on getting somebody new in there? I mean,
Well, at this stage, I'm already out in the field, and it'd be nice to have another person that I could send to get them started, to get them trained, to see.
Because
if
you
they-
train them anyway, right? One of your staff, the appraiser
Yeah.
very seldom.
Yeah, we start them out and see if they're actually going to stay with us before we spend money on them to send them to school. Because we've had some in the past that we got them to the field, one didn't know how to drive a truck, one didn't like spiders, you know, so it's gotta be a person that's willing to be outside with nature, and some people just can't cut it. They don't like bending over to measure, they don't, you know, we get all kinds, so. You know, we give them a little while to see if they're gonna stay before we just jump right out and spend county money on them to get the schooling. that
How
they
long
need.
does the skilling take for them? You got somebody, you like them, how long do they have to go to school?
Well, they need to go to at least the 2 data collection courses to start with, which is residential data collection and commercial data collection.
And how long is that? Is that just a week
It's usually
course?
a week course.
For each one?
For each one, a week of motels, a week of food.
Right.
It's about $1,400 to send one person to one class.
And where does that take place at?
Usually Topeka.
Okay. Okay.
We try and stay as close as we can.
I'd be all right with you going out and looking for somebody. I mean, I know you have a lot on your shoulders now, but I mean, if you feel comfortable with it,
Okay.
what do you guys think?
as do I.
Yeah, so if you need to advertise, so
Mm-hmm.
see David about ads or whatever,
Mhm.
and go for it.
All right.
Do you normally pick up a summer intern
Intern?
type person?
We do. We do. We try and find somebody in the summer so that we can get them started and see how they work and fit, and,
Is
you
it a
know,
full-time position?
it is a full-time position that we're needing, yes.
I'd say probably well advised to get started.
Okay.
Even if somebody landed here next week, they're gonna be leaning on you and everybody else to help
Right.
get adjusted, so.
Okay.
We haven't yet, no.
I'll make a motion tentatively to approve the appraiser's budget in the amount of $357,000, which also encompasses the reappraisal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tentatively.
I'll second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. Lisa and I are still gonna go to, Labette County to the Southeast Kansas meeting, Thursday. I sent them an email to see how COVID was down there, because if it's high down there, we're not gonna go, but, otherwise, we're gonna go and, attend that and see if they've got any recommendations for appraisers.
Okay.
We thought we'd throw that in there when we,
Is it Crawford County got a,
Crawford County had a big.
They had a big push, right?
Yeah,
Of
they had a
COVID.
big outbreak, but I don't know further south how they're doing. But I did send an email this morning, but I haven't received a reply. Okay,
Thank you.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you.
David?
I've got several budgets, and I don't know if you want to get into Kevin's budget today too.
If you guys want to.
Are you ready for it? Or did you say you
I've
need
looked
more
over it a
time?
little bit.
I'm not very well, I just read about 2 pages of it and I jumped over. You want to do it today, or?
Whatever you guys want to do, that's up to you.
We can just, I mean, we can wait if you want.
Well, I mean, you
That's
can
fine.
discuss some of it too, whatever.
Let's wait a week.
You don't need to with budgets, man.
Do we have anything beyond, I mean,
I don't have anything else other than these budgets.
I just need to ask one question while he's here. And I ask it every couple weeks. And I don't know if you got a bunch of texts this week about the wind turbines. I started getting them last night. I got like 30 of them. I got 30 some texts last night about vote yes or no on the wind turbine, that they want that. And we know what group of people, that's fine, that have been sending those out. So that's where I'm back at. When can we decide on what we're gonna do here? So I want this, I don't wanna let this go, I want this to happen. So I think we just kinda hash it out just briefly of a couple items that need to go on, either mailed out, come back, or an advisory vote, which you said costs quite a bit, put together, but let's get something solid and get it to the people. So I think it's a big enough issue that it's very important. It's important not to this small group of people that, and I don't know if it's small or not, but a group of people that live down in that area that's really concerned about it. But it impacts our whole county. It can impact our whole county in the future. So right or wrong, yes or no, I don't really care. I want to hear what the people have to say. So how can we hash that out, David?
I think I'm waiting for you guys to tell me.
Yeah, I know you are. So
We talked about options. I mean, you can do a mail-out poll that you mail to all electors.
mhm.
You could do a mail-out poll that you mail to all residents, whether they're electors, or you could do a mail-out poll that you mail to all taxpayers. We have those three databases, I think, are all.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know which way you wanna approach that. If you're looking at taxpayers, that could be something stuffed in with tax statements that go out the 1st of November.
I'm for that. I mean, it sounds the cheapest financially.
Is that all we're gonna do, or we're gonna?
Yeah, that's
carry it,
next.
Or is that just the next step?
I think that's the next step.
And I want to rewind a little bit. We talked about an advisory election during the big general election, but that's not a feasible thing
Right.
to do because of the polling location.
Right.
We have to be separated, and we don't have the equipment to simultaneously make that happen, so it's not something we can practically do as a community, right? My only interest is a true sampling of the community. And I've thrown out that while we're doing this clump plan and redoing that we could also get some survey information then too, but I don't know if that's a true representation of what we're getting. So I think, I like your idea, maybe we do 2 or 3 things to make sure that we're getting a good representation from the community.
So if we did that, we mailed it out, it'll all have to be hand counted, is that correct?
It's gonna have to be hand counted unless you wanna pay that several $1,000s for machine programming
Sure.
and run it through our ballots, and, it's gonna be way cheaper to do a hand count.
Okay. And if you do a hand count, would it just be your office, or would we ask for volunteers, or what?
I'd be open for anybody to volunteer instead of my office, but.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Can we put a voting poll on our county website?
I don't know.
Yeah, but you just get it flooded with emails.
That's really the whole inherent issue with everything you go to do. Even like on the taxpayers, there's 20,000 parcels of property. And out of those 20,000, is there half of them, I mean, you might own 600 acres out here. We got a guy that owns a lot at Sugar Valley.
Yeah.
He's got the same voting authority as you do, and they're not even Linn County residents.
And all the ones that live out of the county, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you sort them out?
Well, I don't know, I mean, do you do 2 or 3 things to get a good representation?
Well, if they don't live, yeah.
The list I have most readily available would be registered voters. I can print labels out straight out of the voter system, and you can send all the voters in the county.
Okay.
and if you were having a regular election, that's the same.
That would be the people that got to vote. If you're wanting to do property owners, like I said, stuffing it with the tax statements would be the easiest way to do it, and probably cheapest, because you're already mailing anyway.
But that goes to out-of-state people, out-of-county
Right.
people, it goes to everybody.
And then if you're talking residents, I'm not sure what the best way to go about that one
You would
is.
you'd almost need to do that one by zip code, mass mailing through the post office.
Yeah,
That's about the only way to do that.
which can also be done.
Yep.
But, yeah,
I know you're waiting, and you're probably tired of me complaining about it, but I do want to get it done, and I'd like to get it done before the 1st of the year.
So what do you think?
When's
about
the
first two?
moratorium, I'm sorry,
No, go
when's the moratorium go off
It
of it?
runs out the end of this year.
Yeah.
Runs out the end of the year unless we extend it while we're waiting on this. The whole idea was to get this comp plan in place, and it's in process, but it's not done yet.
So, I mean, if we ask for this, we come up with the question or questions, whether it's just gonna be a wind turbine, yes or no, solar farms, yes or no, could we have it feasibly back by before, 15th of December or something like that?
I don't know why you couldn't. I mean, we talked about if you're doing a mail-out poll to the registered voters, you said you had kind of a lull there in, what, early October? It might be a time they could do that.
A short one.
A short one.
I mean, I could print the labels for it, no problem at all. We might be looking for some assistance on stuffing envelopes and getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
But printing out the labels, I mean, that's a few keystrokes in that print, so that's no big deal. We could do that.
And who would do the questions if we just want a simple, and everybody else, the other two commissioners as well can put in,
Well,
just trying to keep it simple.
the three of you would decide, and we could work together to try to get something drafted that you're happy with. It would be up to you to decide what questions you want.
Can we do that next week, work on that, and get the questions decided, and figure out which mailing group of people we want it to go to, and then a drop dead date back to us by. And then I considered it a big accomplishment.
I'm on board. I don't know really, if there's any one single tool you're gonna be able to use to get a really good representation of what's going on, but I mean, like I said, this clump thing's gonna be a bulk mailing too, and it's about planning the future of the county. So I'm still on a little bit, wondering why we could use that as one of the tools, maybe not the tool, not the whole, but at least get some opinions. on it.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'm
we're
not
gonna have
against that
expense
either.
Anyway, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tax thing is a good, but I mean, you get 20,000 parcels of property and you don't know really how many of them are owned by out-of-county residents.
Well, this started out as an attempt to have an election.
It did.
If that's your mindset, then the database you need to be working with is the registered voters.
That's fine.
That's a very simple, print out a bunch of labels. It's just, you guys decide what you want on
Right.
it and volunteer to come stuff envelopes and put labels on.
Sure. Okay. I want to work on that next week.
Put it on the agenda, discuss it.
And then we've got the appraisers ad out. Where did it go? Was it just the Linn County News, or did we?
I actually didn't have it in the paper yet,
Okay.
but I've got it out through the Appraisers Association.
Okay.
I did not do any direct mailings to people that are on that list.
And our medical officer, do we need to advertise for that?
We should have,
Petition?
they have to work with it.
I've seen a few emails going back and forth between her and CHC, but I don't know.
We put it where,
Where
or were we required to? Are we required to?
Well,
We would be, wouldn't we?
need to move forward.
Yeah. So those are my two big issues for today.
Gary, did you care about copies of any of this? I think I emailed them out, the budget thing today. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So that meeting on Friday is just Judge Hart and Bill Team.
Just judge me and Bill Taylor.
Good luck.
You guys ready for budgets?
Yep.
So I emailed this out to you Friday, I think. I've got 5 budgets there. I still have several to go that I need to work on this week.
Jeez.
We just kind of go through down the list there in order that you've got it. The first page is just what I went through on salaries for my employees and how I split them up between clerk and election and courthouse and how that all calculates out for a year. And the second page with that is the same information with a 2% cost of living, just to show you what the difference would be. So I'd be looking at a little over $4,000 more if we did a 2% cost of living. And I know we haven't really talked about cost of living yet this year. It's something we need to decide in the next 2 or 3 weeks probably, what you guys want to do on that. But that was just for an example of what it would do on the salaries for our office. So going through the individual budgets you've got there, my clerk budget is the first one I've listed. So the top page is the cover sheet I send out to everybody. The second page is what prints out of the system that compares the last 3 or 4 years' budgets. And then the back page of that section is a spreadsheet I did that shows a little more where I came up with those numbers, with several notes at the bottom, just the reasoning behind some of it. And I know it's been mentioned already today, but the fact that there's 27 pay periods next year has an effect on all these budgets. On mine for the clerk's office, that makes a difference of $2,674, having that extra payroll in there. And I did not include any COLA in what's on that page, but I had to note there that would cost another $4,194 if we did 2%. And I don't know if you want me to read through all these things, but just several things there of the reasoning behind the budget and how I got to those numbers. So be glad to answer any questions about any of those if you've got any. Same kind of deal on the election budget. I'm showing a slight increase on it for next year. But I'm also showing I'm going to go well over budget on election this year. But there is a reason on that. There's a couple of reasons. One of them is the USD 362 election that was scheduled this spring that got postponed. We'd already had significant expense on that. And then we've got a lot of extra cleaning supplies and things we're doing for COVID-19. So that's going to bump the cost up. However, we are getting money back from the state to cover most of that. So even though it's going to be an increased expense in the budget, the cash is going to come back to the county.
Is that postponed election, is that something that the county's got to bear the cost of it?
Well, I'm not sure on that yet, because typically we would bill the school district for that election because it's a special and it's not countywide. However, in this case, part of it was at our request that they postpone it because it was right when all the stuff was hitting with the virus and we couldn't find workers, we couldn't find places to hold an election. So I'm not positive how that's all going to work out yet. There could be some reimbursement coming there from the district also. Now that they've moved it to our primary, we can't charge them for any costs for that primary because it's part of a countywide election. So I don't know. I haven't really had that discussion with Rex up there yet and tried to negotiate anything. I know Miami County had some costs associated with it too, and the last I had talked to Janet, I think she was planning on submitting a bill for reimbursement to the school district, but I haven't heard how that's gone yet either. So that's the first two, the clerk and election budgets.
Open that door.
Help him. Jackie, would you help that guy?
The next one
Thank
you
you.
got there is the Fair Association.
He's already around, Jack.
Building fund. This is money that we levy for the Fair Association. There's a cap of $500,000 on that. We're actually a little under that. Been trying to keep the dollar amounts about level the last few years without increasing mill levies or bumping into that cap. I was showing that one at $129,000 for next year, which would be a $500 increase. It actually could do that with our valuation with the lower mill levy. It would still lower their levy slightly and keep their money up. The next two you have are the ones associated with the building project. The debt service is the sales tax fund. We will have a principal payment due next year and 2 interest payments. So I've set that one at $921,531.26, which is the exact amount of those payments. There's no property tax money going into that. That is completely funded by sales tax. And we are bringing in enough sales tax at the current rate to more than make that payment.
Which was what was projected.
Right. I'm showing for next year, my projection is 958,000 in sales tax income, and our expense is 913. So about 45,000 more than we need next year coming in if it keeps up at the rate that I projected.
So what would you do with that, that additional money? Would you keep it, or do we pay additional principal?
Well, we could pay additional principal if the bonds allowed it, but
Oh.
it's my understanding we can't do that yet.
Okay,
And that was from the bond attorneys. He said because of the way bonds are retired, there's a limit on there of when you can pay extra, and
Gotcha.
we haven't passed that time yet. We're also talking to Joey to see if he can look into ways we could do something on that. The bond people did tell me you can go ahead and make a payment early if you want to, but it's not an extra payment. It's just they're gonna hold it till it gets those bonds retired, and at that rate, there's no point in us paying it early, because they're just making interest on the money instead of us, even though
So-
interest is tiny.
did Joey sound like we could put that in a different,
Well, Janet's been talking to Joey. I
Okay.
haven't talked to him.
all right,
Would assume that you could put it to a different account.
CD or
When
something.
that time period was exhausted, you could make a principal payment would be the assumption.
Well,
I
and
mean, you
that's-
collect it for that purpose, we gotta keep it
Yeah, and
separate.
right now, it all stays in that fund if we don't use it. So it's not going anywhere till we do use it on something.
Because it does, if it's collected for that purpose, it has to stay for that purpose.
And that's the way that question was written, is it's collected to make those payments, and then once the bonds are paid off, the sales tax drops to a quarter cent instead of a full cent, and that stays on for operating expenses for the judicial center. But yeah, we're locked into, we can't use that money for anything else,
Sure.
it has to stay in that fund. And then the last one you got is the actual construction fund. That one I'm showing $12,960,709 for next year. That is purely an estimate. I mean, we know what our grand total is that we've got in there. We don't know exactly when all that stuff's gonna come due yet. So I'm showing we could spend up to $5 million this year, and that would still leave 12.9 to spend next year to finish the project. It just gives us the spending authority. Doesn't mean we're gonna spend it. We're gonna spend it when the payments come due. So, it's, again, no property tax money going into that. That is all the proceeds from those bonds that's sitting there, drawing interest till we spend it. Up to this point, we've made decent interest on it. However, as things renew now, the interest rates are horrible, so we're not gonna make much on it in the future.
Okay.
And that's part of the estimates I'll have in the general fund income side. I've worked with Jan to estimate interest for next year. It's pretty sad when you look at what the last couple of years have been. So that's the 5 I had ready today. I still have the courthouse and the employee benefits budgets left to do, which are bigger ones that are gonna take me some time. I've got several small ones left that won't be a big deal. The employee benefit, I will probably hold off until the last minute and try to get everyone else's budget in so I can look at the salary amounts, because that's gonna affect employee benefits. And then if you guys can start thinking about what you wanna do with cost of living for next year, that'll have an effect on it too. And I'll have to go back and sort through all these budgets that have come in, because I've heard comments from a couple of department heads that they put cost of living in there, others didn't.
I did too, yeah. They do that every year to you.
They do. But I'll have to take some time to go through all of them and recalculate everything when we get to that point. So overall, what I've got there is the clerk budget at $143,579, which is a $4,579 increase. The election budget at $89,000, which is a $600 increase. Fair Association at $129,000, a $500 increase. The debt service at $921,531.26, which is a $500 increase. And the capital improvement at $12,960,709, which would be a $153,259 increase.
I'll make a motion, we tentatively approve those budgets, those 5 budgets in that amount.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
So, can you explain the Linn County Fair Association Building Fund to me? Didn't we just talk about one of these last week? Was it?
Yeah.
How many of there are there?
There are several. There's a fair building that we fund. There's a 4-H building that, because it's our building. There's a fair premium. All those are smaller budgets within our general fund. This is actually, the Fair Association has the authority through the county to levy a tax for maintenance and new construction of building and fixtures at the fairgrounds. This was approved probably 5 years ago. Before that, we had been budgeting money every year as part of our general fund and giving it to them. They went out, so it's still under the county, but it pulled it out of our general fund, and there's a limit of $500,000 that they can levy. You guys have the authority to approve it, but that was kind of the agreement at the time, is to get it out of our general, make it a levy just for them with that limit. And say over those years, we've worked it down a little under that $500,000. But it started when they replaced all the bleachers and did a bunch of work that year, that they took out some loans, bonds of some type, and this was the money going to pay that off.
So we don't actually own any buildings down there anymore.
We still own the
4-H.
Are we still in the 4-H?
But we deeded the others that we had over.
Rabbit, yeah, and all that, yeah.
Is there a reason we still own the 4-H?
I think there is, and I don't remember all the legalities on it, but I think the extension office can't own it, and 4-H can't or won't. I don't know, it's one of those we provide as the county, and
No, that's the big one, the green one, right? Or the one that has the concession stand in it?
Yeah, concession stand inside and outside.
Quonset type facility. When we turned over the Rabbit building, which they just remodeled last year, the restrooms in it, the Rabbit Hutch building, and then the Square, the horse building. And anyway, I think it was built about the same time the fire stations were built, and around in the 70s. As I recall, there was some funding left over. I don't know how that went, but anyway, those facilities were needing updated and remodeled and roofed and things like that, and the Fair Board wanted to take them on, and that was, since they kind of stepped into their own entity, much like a library or a precinct or something like that, that was a good move. But Gary at that time advised us not to turn over the 4-H building, that we still need to own and control that. We use that in a lot of our LEPC tabletop exercises where we're planning for pandemics and tornadoes and things like that. We use that facility to step into for whatever reason. Anyway, it's part of our emergency management planning. Anyway, we decided it would probably be best at that time we didn't turn that building over to the Fair Board. And I think Gary had some other legal discussion about it too. But, you know, they have connexes prepared to be moved in there and set up. I mean, 6 months ago we was talking about that. It's a little bit far-fetched, but it's a little closer to home now, where people have come in and drive-throughs and sampling. So, anyway, there's all kinds from animal disease control to tornadoes to.
It's Chris Martin just sent me a message. He's listening. He said 4-H is our emergency backup site.
Which is what I just tried to say, only too long, so. Anyway, yeah.
So is the type of description I put on there on my clerk and election budgets good enough for what you're looking for to describe everything?
I think so, for me.
And I know, Rick, you talked about wanting to see like 2 or 3 year plans on the equipment. I said I didn't plan anything major on those.
Right.
I think I just put a note at the bottom of it that computer stuff I'd get out of my tech fund, but other than that, I didn't really have any big plans on there.
I was talking a little bit briefly to Gary this morning, and Mike, you've been around a long time. Why people come back in, and if it's in their budget, and we approve their budget, and it's in their budget what they're gonna do with their proposed plan throughout the year, they're gonna replace a fire truck at estimated cost of $700,000 or whatever it is. If it's in their budget and we approve their budget, why do they come back and ask again? Because it just confuses people. If it's already approved, why are we coming back and saying, yeah, we'll approve it again? Unless it's over that amount. So why even do that? I'm just watching other counties, they don't do that. I mean, it confuses people. And that's why Doug was in here this morning trying to clarify why, because a lot of people do think that Doug or any other, when the sheriff comes over and wants a new car or a different, something that costs money, if it's already in their budget for that year and it was approved that he was gonna replace 3 new cars, why should he come back and say, hey, I wanna replace 3 new cars 3 months from now, when it's already been approved by the commission? So, Gary just kind of briefly went over that, because of the way we've always done it, and I don't know that that's right.
I agree with you, and that's where I'd like to see, you know, when people come in budgets, what they would like to do within that next year. Like, you know, like Kevin, I'm gonna buy 3 new cars, or whatever the case may be. I think, because I agree with you on that. I get a lot of old timers that jump me about that. And why'd you let him do this and that? And
Or you buy, especially when you throw a road grader out there, you know, I'm replacing 2 road graders and it's, you know, a 1.3 million or whatever it is, ungodly amount. If their future budget is to replace one every year at this cost.
I would defer to Gary on any legal
I will.
aspects of that, obviously, but I think, at least in my opinion, what's been happening over the years is that was the last bit of control the commission had, as in, say, we'll pick on Jackie sitting here, he's got $750,000 budgeted for equipment. However, later this year, you guys find out you really don't want to spend that much money, you can tell him, hey, you're gonna have to cut back, and that's kind of that last line of him coming in for the approval before he spends it is a chance for you to say no if you want to.
do we ever say no, though?
Well,
Yeah, we have.
oh yeah. These capital improvements, the process set in place, we have a purchasing
No, I
policy
got
that
you.
we've approved finally.
Okay.
And we got it in place. And we'll keep picking on Jack or Doug or whoever we want to do that. But let's say that, and I think the fire board, in my own personal opinion, does a very good job of trying to set out a 5-year plan of what they are, just like this bunker gear. And I don't know what things cost, but as I understand, a pair of boots and a pair of gloves are $3,000, maybe $2,000-$3,000, and that's for 70-some, almost 80-some volunteer firefighters now.
Sure.
And we got coats and all that, and they do a pretty good job bringing that stuff in and getting it maintained and kept, you know, used to, you take it home, you know, and they don't do that anymore. They keep everything pretty well contained and where it's at. We've got an inventory system in place, and we know where things are at. All right, so we have 80 firefighters that need, what, $8,000 worth of bunker gear?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot of money. It's $750,000 worth of assets the county owns. They come in and they present a capital budget, says, hey, we're gonna buy a tanker, or in 3 years, we're gonna set aside $50,000 for 3 years, and then we're gonna purchase a piece of equipment, and we're doing this, and we're doing that. And I got a board of 7 people, which is 6 now, because we can't find somebody for District 3 to represent in that large position. But anyway, they come in there, and if something changes, we have a pandemic, we have, let's say we have a huge issue where the values in the counties decrease, and we know our next year's budget is directly related to the money we spend this year and how we can affect that ad valorem mill levy. So I think it's a great double check, and in the interest of transparency, I'll commend Doug, because he gets bludgeoned all the time for coming in saying, hey, I have to have this equipment tested. It has to be tested. The pumps have to be tested, the aerial, you know, so yeah, and until we increase the spending authority of these guys to $20,000 or even $30,000, which I don't think I would be in favor of what I know about it right now doing that. I would want that to increase. I think we need to open that dialogue with Gary, but I think he does just exactly when you're asking for more information, good for you, because we want to know what's being capitalized. you'll see somebody come in with a budget saying, I'm buying a piece of equipment, I've got 3 years worth of lease payments. Well, we got cut up, well, that lease went away, well, I'm not increasing my budget, or I'm only increasing it $500, well, what happened to that $25,000 lease payment that no longer needed, you know? And that's where Dave comes in, and these sheets you're seeing here, he's gonna say, hey, it looks like there's really an increase of maybe 20% in that budget. At least the payment went away, or, you know.
I think that our budgets are not up to what they should be, and maybe if we included that as a, like, you know, you're going to tell us what you're going to buy next year, and if not, you better not be buying it. Then they're more apt to work on those budgets a little harder, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying they don't work hard now, but I'm saying that there's a lot of room to play in some of those budgets. And if it's...
And this is just another opportunity
Yeah.
to review it later. We tentatively approve them, we're gonna get a chance to work on them again before it goes to the hearing process, or gets printed. And then, after that point, then when these people come in and spend the money next year, anything beyond whatever our purchasing policy is, 5,000, I guess, for some departments, and I think some of them are less, are they not, 1,000? And, then you get an opportunity to do that. There was lots of ways to do that, you know, years ago, we had 4 different road foremans down here. They couldn't spend more than $1,000.
Right.
They had expensive tires, they'd get 2 tires at a time.
I know they sit there and I need to buy Firestone. The other guy doesn't like Firestone. He wants Cooper. And
Culverts, I don't buy them culverts, I buy them from the other salesman.
What a
Why are we
disaster.
putting these together? Propane. Why are we got 6 different propane companies
Yeah.
that service in the county instead of one? We fixed a lot of those inherited issues.
We have.
but This, I think that this is a fairly decent process. But let's open that dialogue
Yeah.
next week with Gary, present, but I don't know, we want to just say, oh, you budgeted for it, go ahead and spend it.
Okay. I think it's a good conversation to at least have.
I think it is a good one. Continue.
I did want to give you one more bit of information on my election budget too, and I don't remember if I mentioned that in my notes. I think I probably did, but, every other year we have busier elections. So like this year with presidential, this is a big election year. Next year, city and school, my expenses will be lower. Year after that is state elections, so they'll back up. I try to keep that budget somewhere near level instead of going back and forth between those years. And then like in next year's, when I shouldn't need as much, I try to buy some of the supplies for the following year when I know it's gonna be busier. So that one, obviously, it could for next year drop down on
Sure.
election because I won't need it all next year. But then I would have to bump it right back up the next year, so that was just my idea, trying to keep that one balanced out from year to year.
So do you do, transfer of money to a special fund?
I have at times when I knew something was coming, I typically will purchase order my postage for the next year because that every other year I have a lot more postage too, so I'll put a bigger postage bill out there and then and I'll try to buy things ahead like the ballot stock and labels and just different things that we use, envelopes, and just buy them ahead when I have that money left at the end of the year.
There's an example of somebody taking Jack, he's got $200,000 in a $3 million bucket almost $4 million bucket for road and bridge. And he's got $250,000 left in that budget right before, you know, you got salt reserve, rock reserve, whatever. And we comes into the end of the year and say, hey, I'd like to push that into special equipment reserve. Okay, that's allowed that. That's something we didn't practice really well for the last few years. And they're reserve accounts. But we want control of those accounts. I don't want Jack even getting himself in a position where he can go spend $200,000 or $300,000. He said, well, you guys said I could. You know what I mean? I would like to see that come back. Hey, and you don't want to be the guy that's on the griddle for that.
And I see it as, that is the case, though, it would come back to us automatically because.
For a decision?
Yeah, for a final decision on something like that.
Right.
That's
It's
all.
good dialogue, and it may be something we want to modify the policy over, but right now, that's the way the policy was written, they have to do.
Yeah. Hey, did you, get a chance to look at the census on the Kansas book? I just opened it up today and I see because of the COVID delays, they put the amount of census released to the state of Kansas, by the state of Kansas. Our county is 48% complete. Response rate, and they're supposed to And I was wondering what happened to the census with COVID. And I guess it's gonna start up in late summer again to try to finish this thing up on that. And then, when I first came as commissioner, somewhere in that first term, we talked about, did we need to redistrict or whatever is that coming up this year, or what will happen, Doug?
Typically a couple of years after the census,
Okay.
because we'll get those new census numbers and then look at how it divides.
And we have it divided up several different ways. Does the state divide their own up, or how they, like state representative, how
Yeah, they'll be redistricting after.
their self, okay.
But yeah, we'll look at it and I'll run out comparisons of the 3 commission districts and how the population.
Does the schools, do they always say the same, don't they?
Yeah, schools are the same unless they agree to change the boundaries of each other. But, we're required to review the commission districts periodically and try to keep them as even as possible because you're all supposed to represent about the same amount of people. The population has grown enough in yours, Rick, that you keep losing area. The last time we did it, you're down to, Lincoln and Scott.
Yeah.
That's all that's in your district, but that made it pretty equal to the other 2 in population.
Right, it works good for me because most of them are in town, so I don't have.
So it'll be interesting to see how the census looks this time. And, the next thing I could see would be possibly you lose Scott or maybe trade out Scott for Valley and we'd have to rearrange. We'll just have to wait and see what the numbers look like.
Sure. I didn't know how it worked. I just knew we had done it once before.
Yeah.
When I first come in here, the District 3 took 40-some% of the entire county geologically because of the per capita population, and there's been 2 adjustments since I've been here. One of them, you lost a precinct, and I lost 2 precincts, all the District 2. So your district's growing, or geologically anyway, growing, Danny. And I would say it's a lot to do with the growth of Linn Valley, do you not?
That's
In the northern end of the
a lot
county.
Yeah, and that's, right now, Lincoln Township is split north and south Lincoln precincts and has been, as long as I remember. It really, to me, would make more sense to have it split east and west Lincoln instead of north and south and have Lacey and Linn Valley in separate precincts. I'm not even positive what that would take to do that one. But,
Could you imagine the retribution from the park funds and the library funds and separate them in that power plant?
Well, it'd still be the same township, but just voting precincts, so I don't think it would really affect that part of it, but North Lincoln has a lot more people than South Lincoln does right now.
Right.
And that would be a more even split if it was east and west.
What do you think, Danny? We get together and take over that power plant?
I think so.
Go ahead and try.
Yeah, the actual township boundaries themselves are set, and that's what I'm talking about, is voting precincts.
We're just kicking Rick out of it. Yeah, they'll adjust on it, they'll change occasionally, it's not even something we get involved in.
Well,
We have to approve
for
it.
the commission districts, I'll bring you the recommendation, and then you guys are the ones who approve that. It typically, by the time we narrow it down to try to even the population out, it's not that you really have that much choice, it's how it needs to be.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever reached out to you guys about the Pike Trail that comes through here? Have you guys ever heard anything about that?
No, not me.
I got a phone call here a while back about, can't remember what the guy's name was, but something about a Pikes Peak Trail that runs through Kansas. Jackie, do you know anything about that? Pikes Peak, Pike Trail? I might have to call him back. He sent me an email and he was asking questions again, so. But supposedly there's a trail called Pikes Peak, or Pikes Trail that runs through here that they're trying to get funded on or something. I'm not 100% sure on it, but yeah, from through, I think he said, I don't want to tell you wrong, but yeah, I guess they're trying to get it notoriety, so I don't know exactly I'll have to call him back and get more details or ask him to come in, I guess, but. You got anything else?
No, no,
David, I got a call from the Parker Library director. Said she had miscalculated her budget last year, and anyway, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. They shorted themselves $5,600 tax revenue. Sound about right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be done about it. I meant to bring it up before Gary left, but there's nothing really to be done about it, is there?
No, I had a fairly lengthy conversation with her on the phone one day that started with how it was all my office's fault for not giving her money. And I said, we helped prepare those budgets. I don't know specifically what changed from the original one to that, but I said, that's the one you guys signed, that's what we used to set back money, there's nothing I can do about it. Just kind of put it back on them, when they're the final authority on approving that budget, and if that was not what they wanted, they should have spoken up a year ago. There's nothing I can do about it now.
right.
I think that they have a via to get some bonds somehow to bridge any gaps in their budget for this year. They were hoping not to have to do that, but anyway.
Well, even with that lower tax levy this year than what they thought they had coming, their budget for this year was still higher than previous year's expenses. So unless they've got a bunch of extra expense that we didn't know about, there should be enough there to cover it anyway. I don't know. I'm not looking at their books from day to day to know where they're at.
But I guess in short, that's water under the bridge for last year, is that what I understand?
Once those levies were set, in about mid-October, and we start producing tax statements, there's nothing we can do to change the levy.
Anything else, Dean?
I don't.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second, moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna give you a bunch of information here that was handed out.